All right, today we're tackling one of the biggest puzzles in our shift to green energy. And spoiler alert, researchers have come up with a really clever solution that we're going to dive into. You see them popping up everywhere, right? Giant wind turbines, fields of solar panels. They're the face of this huge shift in how we get our power. And yeah, renewables are growing like crazy, which is great news for a cleaner planet. But there's a catch. This whole green revolution has a kind of a secret problem. It's a fundamental challenge that, if we don't figure it out, could seriously mess with the stability of our entire power grid. I mean, renewable energy is amazing when it's actually working. But what do you do when the sun goes down or the wind just stops blowing? That one simple question gets right to the heart of the whole issue: unpredictability. Okay, so think about it like this. Old school power plants, you can pretty much turn them on and off like a faucet. You get this steady, predictable stream of electricity. But renewables, they're all over the place. Their power output is totally at the mercy of the weather. And that creates these huge, wild swings in supply. And look, this isn't just a hypothetical thing. It's a real documented problem. The researchers behind this study put it bluntly. This instability, this volatility, is the big hurdle we have to clear if we're ever going to have a grid that's 100% renewable. So, to really get the solution, we first need to understand the battlefield. And that battlefield is the electricity market. It's the super dynamic, high-stakes place where power is being bought and sold literally every single second. And right at the center of all this is something called the spot market. You can think of it as an instant auction for electricity. The price is constantly changing, all based on how much power is available versus how much everyone needs, like right this very second. And here's the really critical part. The power grid is like a tightrope walker. It has to be in perfect balance all the time between supply and demand. If you have even a little too much power or not quite enough, the whole thing can just collapse. And that, my friends, is a blackout. Okay, so with renewables being so up and down, how on earth do we keep that perfect balance? Well, this is where it gets really cool. The researchers in this study found a kind of secret weapon. They figured out how to turn a huge part of the problem into the actual solution. Check out this idea. It's brilliant. For forever, we've been focused on managing the supply of electricity, right? But what if we could manage the demand instead? What if the things that are actually using all that power could help us balance the grid? And that brings us to the hero of our story, something called flexible loads. Now that's just the fancy technical term for big electrical devices, the ones where it doesn't really matter exactly when they run. We're talking about things whose power use can be cleverly shifted around or even paused for a bit, and you probably wouldn't even notice. So what are we actually talking about here? Well, think about your electric car charging overnight, or your smart AC kicking on and off, even other smart appliances. All of these are flexible loads, and when you add them all up, they represent a massive, and I mean massive, amount of energy demand that we can actually control. Right, so how in the world do you get millions of these different devices to all work together in harmony? You need a seriously smart strategy. And for that, these researchers turned to the mathematics of strategy itself. They used game theory. What they did was build this incredibly sophisticated model. It basically watches the electricity market, predicts how prices are going to change, and then it creates the perfect schedule for all those flexible loads. It tells them, hey, now is the cheapest and best time to turn on and use power. Probably the easiest way to picture it is like a chess computer for the power grid. It's always thinking several moves ahead, you know? It's analyzing everything and planning the most efficient move. For example, it might shift thousands of electric cars from charging at 6 p.m. to charging at 2 a.m. when nobody else needs power and the wind is blowing like crazy. And this right here shows you the difference perfectly. On the left, you've got what the paper calls autonomous chaos. See that huge, sharp spike in demand? That's just everybody using power whenever they feel like it. But then look at the right side. That's the coordinated plan. That big peak is gone. It's been smoothed out and shifted. It's not about using less power, it's about being way smarter about when we use it. Okay, so that all sounds fantastic on paper, right? But the million-dollar question is, did it actually work? When they ran the simulations, did this game plan really make the grid more stable? Did it actually save anybody any money? Now, this is where it gets really interesting. The model uncovered a big forecasting problem. Turns out, in the middle of the night, we're talking 1 to 4 a.m., The grid was expecting a certain amount of power to be used, but the actual amount needed was way, way lower. And that kind of mismatch is exactly what can throw a grid off balance. And to put some real numbers to that, the grid was basically told to have 2,500 kilowatts ready to go. But in reality, only about 1,500 were actually needed. That is a huge, wasteful gap. And it's precisely that kind of problem this smart scheduling system is built to fix. So, what happened when the researchers started adding more and more of these smart, flexible loads into their simulation? Well, the results were pretty amazing, actually. The more controllable devices they added to the mix, the better the entire system worked. First up, money. As more smart devices were brought into this coordinated system, the total operating costs for the whole grid just went down. By shifting power usage to those times when renewables are cheap and abundant, it literally saved everyone money. And then there's the environmental win. Because the system got so much better at using renewable energy whenever it was available, the whole grid just got cleaner. The model helped cut down our reliance on fossil fuels, and that, of course, means lower carbon emissions. So, here's the bottom line. The real key to unlocking the full power of renewables isn't just about building more wind turbines or solar panels. It's about building a smarter grid. By intelligently scheduling when all our everyday devices use power, we can build an energy system that's more stable, cheaper for everyone, and a whole lot cleaner. Which kind of leaves us with this amazing thought, right? In the very near future, when you plug your car in at night, you're not just charging your car. You're becoming part of a system, an active participant in making our entire power grid stronger and more reliable. Your car could literally be helping to keep the lights on for your entire neighborhood.